$1 billion. That's how much Canada stands to lose in this escalating trade war with China. It's about farmers' livelihoods, the future of electric vehicles, and the delicate balance of global trade. And you're caught right in the middle of it all. In the next few minutes, we're going to show you how a decision about car tariffs led to a crisis in canola fields. You'll see firsthand how global trade disputes can impact your daily life, from the food on your plate to the car in your driveway. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this is a problem for Canadian farmers and a wake-up call for all of us. So you're thinking about buying an electric car, but did you know your choice could impact a farmer's livelihood thousands of miles away? It's happening right now, and it's all because of a trade dispute that's snowballing out of control. Here's the deal. On October 1st, 2024, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau dropped a bombshell. Canada slapped tariffs on Chinese-made electric vehicles, aluminum, and steel. This move was Canada lining up with the US and EU, sort of like a trade policy posse. The Canadian government said it was all about protecting critical industries from China's state-directed policies. But China didn't just sit back and take it. They came out swinging, but not at cars or steel. Instead, they announced an anti-dumping investigation into Canadian canola imports. Yeah, you heard that right. Canola, as in the stuff that goes into your cooking oil and animal feed. China accused Canada of dumping cheap canola into their market. It's like they're saying, you hit our cars, we'll hit your crops. Now, you might be wondering, what do electric cars have to do with canola? Well, more than you'd think. It's all part of this crazy, interconnected world we live in. See, China's become this massive player in the EV game. So when Canada puts tariffs on these Chinese EVs, it's a big deal for China. And in the world of international trade, when you hit someone's big industry, they look for ways to hit back where it hurts. For Canada, that's canola. Canola's not just some random crop. It's a major export for Canada, especially to China. We're talking about billions of dollars here. So when China starts making noise about investigating canola imports, it's like they're holding a sword over the head of Canadian farmers. It just goes to show how tangled up everything is in global trade. A decision about car tariffs in one country can end up threatening farmers' livelihoods in another. It's like this massive game of economic dominoes where one piece falls and sets off this chain reaction that nobody saw coming. But this isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. Let's zoom in on the real people caught in the crossfire. Because behind all these billions in tariffs and trade disputes, there are actual farmers wondering if they're going to be able to make ends meet this year. And that's where this story really gets personal. Farmers are used to dealing with unpredictable weather. But what happens when geopolitics becomes an even bigger threat than Mother Nature? Imagine waking up one morning to find your entire year's work might be worth half of what you expected. That's the harsh reality facing Canadian canola farmers right now. Meet Rob Stone, a Saskatchewan canola farmer who's seen his fair share of tough times. But this year, it's like the universe decided to throw everything at him at once. Rob's not alone. Farmers across the prairies are watching their livelihoods hang in the balance, all because of a trade dispute happening halfway around the world. When China announced its anti-dumping investigation into Canadian canola, the market reacted like it had been hit by lightning. Canola prices took a nosedive practically overnight. We're talking about farmers who've spent months planting, tending, and harvesting their crops, only to see the value of their hard work plummet in the blink of an eye. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so prices dropped. Can't farmers just tighten their belts and wait it out? If only it were that simple. See, farming isn't just a job, it's a massive investment. These guys have got combines that cost more than some people's houses. They've got to pay for seed, fertilizer, fuel, and labor. When crop prices drop, those costs don't magically disappear. And here's the kicker. This trade dispute is just the latest in a series of blows. Ian Boxall, president of the Agriculture Producers Association of Saskatchewan, put it bluntly. This year's been every time you turn around the farmers kind of got a little shot in the gut. He's not exaggerating. These farmers have been dealing with labor disputes on railways and at ports, making it harder to get their crops to market. On top of that, many regions have been hit with drought conditions, turning fields into dust bowls. It's like trying to run a marathon with ankle weights while someone keeps moving the finish line. And now, with this China situation, it's like someone just threw a boulder in their path. The impact of this goes way beyond individual farms. We're talking about entire rural communities that depend on agriculture. When farmers struggle, the whole town feels it. Local businesses see less traffic, equipment dealers sell fewer tractors, and suddenly, that new school project or community center upgrade gets put on hold. What started as a policy change about electric vehicles has snowballed into a full-blown crisis for Canadian farmers. It's a stark reminder of just how interconnected our world really is. A decision made in an office in Ottawa or Beijing can have immediate, real-world consequences for a farmer in Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe didn't mince words when he expressed his concerns. He reminded the federal government that Saskatchewan farmers had already taken a hit from Chinese retaliation in the past, referencing a market access ban on canola that led to a decrease of more than $1 billion in exports to China back in 2018. It's like déjà vu, but with potentially even bigger stakes this time around. As David Merritt, Saskatchewan's Minister of Agriculture, put it, the saber rattling pretty loud when you see the market trend do what it did in one night. That's not just colorful language. It's a reflection of the very real fear and uncertainty gripping Canada's agricultural heartland. But as farmers brace for impact, let's unpack why China chose this particular moment to strike. Because in the high-stakes game of global trade, timing is everything. And China just made a move that's both brilliant and brutal. China's move against Canadian canola is a calculated defense strategy that's been years in the making. They're using agricultural imports as leverage, which is something they've done before. Like back in 2019 when they banned Canadian canola over the Huawei executive arrest. It's like they're saying, you mess with our tech companies, we'll mess with your farmers. And now they're doing it again, but with a twist. This time, China's launching an anti-dumping investigation instead of an outright ban. It's a smart play, really. They're basically accusing Canada of flooding the market with cheap goods to undercut local producers. It's like they're holding up a mirror to Western trade practices and saying, how do you like it? China's one of the biggest consumers of canola oil in the world. They grow a lot themselves, but they still need to import some to meet demand. Canada's been their main supplier, but countries like Australia and Ukraine have been increasing their production. So China's got options if they want to play hardball. But this isn't just about canola. It's about China using their massive market as a weapon, and they're not shy about it. A spokesperson for China's Commerce Ministry basically said, hey, Canada's actions are messing with global supply chains, and we're not having it. It's a reminder of China's influence in the global economy. The Chinese government has made it clear they'll do whatever it takes to protect their economy. This canola investigation is just one piece of a bigger strategy. They're using economic tools to respond to international pressures and maintain their market position. So what's the real story behind China's sudden interest in Canadian canola? It's not really about dumping at all. It's about sending a message. China's showing the world that they can hit back where it hurts, and they're not afraid to do it. They're using Canada as an example, warning other countries about the consequences of crossing them economically. By targeting canola, China's hitting Canada in a vulnerable spot without directly escalating the conflict over electric vehicles and steel. They're playing within the rules of international trade while still making their point. It's economic pressure disguised as routine trade enforcement. As this situation unfolds, Canada finds itself in a tricky position. Is there a way out? That's the big question. Because in this high-stakes game of economic chess, the next move could have major implications for Canadian farmers and global trade as a whole. Canada's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Or more accurately, between a dragon and an eagle. You see, this whole canola crisis isn't just about farmers and oilseeds. It's exposing a vulnerability in Canada's economy that goes way beyond agriculture. And it's got policymakers scrambling for a solution that might not exist. Let's break it down. On one side, you've got China, the economic powerhouse that's been gobbling up Canadian canola like there's no tomorrow. On the other, there's the United States, Canada's biggest trading partner and closest ally. And caught in the middle, Canada trying to balance its relationships, protect its industries, and not get squashed in the process. Now, you might think Canada's biggest challenge is deciding between appeasing China or protecting its industries. But it's way more complicated than that. See, different sectors of the Canadian economy are pulling in opposite directions. The auto industry, which supports about 125,000 jobs, is cheering for those tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. They're saying, hey, We need protection from China's unfair trade practices. But then you've got the agricultural sector, watching in horror as China retaliates against their livelihood. So what's Canada to do? Well, they're trying to walk a tightrope. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Chrystia Freeland, came out swinging, saying Canada's moving in lockstep with key international partners to protect Canadian workers and businesses. It's like they're trying to say, hey, we're not alone in this fight against unfair trade practices. But here's the thing. This dispute could have implications way beyond just canola and cars. We're talking about potential ripple effects across multiple industries. And it's not just about exports to China. It's about Canada's entire economic strategy and its place in the global trade landscape. Lawrence Macaulay, Canada's Minister of Agriculture, tried to put on a brave face, touting the quality of Canadian canola and promising to defend the agricultural sector. But let's be real, words only go so far when farmers are watching their livelihoods evaporate. And it's not just federal politicians feeling the heat. Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe didn't mince words when he expressed his deep concern over China's anti-dumping investigation. He reminded everyone that Saskatchewan farmers have already taken hits from previous trade disputes with China. It's like they're saying, come on, not again. The real kicker? Experts are warning that these trade tensions could have much broader implications for Canada's economy. It's not just about losing billions in canola exports. It's about Canada's ability to navigate the increasingly complex world of global trade, where it's constantly caught between the competing interests of economic giants. So why is China's retaliation hitting canola so hard? Well, it's the perfect storm. Canola is a major export for Canada, especially to China. When China threatens that market, it doesn't just hurt farmers. It sends shockwaves through entire rural communities and beyond. And unlike some industries that might have alternative markets, canola farmers are left with few options when their biggest customer decides to play hardball. As the dust settles on this economic battlefield, what does the future hold for Canada, China, and global trade? That's the billion-dollar question. Because in this high-stakes game of economic chess, the next move could determine not just the fate of Canadian farmers, but the entire landscape of international commerce. And as we've seen, in today's interconnected world, what starts as a dispute over cars can end up threatening the livelihood of farmers thousands of miles away. It's a stark reminder that in global trade, everything's connected, and no one's immune to the fallout. So what have we learned from this whole canola crisis? Well, it's a wake-up call about just how fragile our global supply chains really are. One policy change in Ottawa, and suddenly farmers in Saskatchewan are sweating bullets. It's crazy how interconnected everything is. Next time you hear about tariffs or trade wars on the news, remember it's not just about numbers on a screen. It's about real people, like Rob Stone and his fellow farmers, wondering if they'll be able to make ends meet this year. In a world where a decision about car tariffs can impact a farmer's livelihood thousands of miles away, maybe we're not as disconnected as we think. It's a reminder that our choices, even small ones, can have far-reaching consequences. Speaking of choices that can have big consequences, if you're in the market for a new car, you might want to check out our latest video on most unreliable cars that won't last 60,000 miles and will drain your wallet. Trust me, it could save you a lot of headaches down the road. Hit that subscribe button and give it a watch. You won't regret it.